I definitely see a sense of urgency. I know that there have been conversations in different sectors of companies that may want to move here, but their question is always who's going to work for them. Similar to other communities, the aging population is one of them in terms of the demographics. Our population growth is kind of flat over time, looking out ahead, so the low in-migration is certainly relevant there too. Healthcare, there's an obvious need for healthcare, but finding people who will have a flexible schedule, who are highly qualified, and who are able to dedicate themselves to the high expectations you have to meet within a regulatory framework, which is incredibly difficult to navigate, and knowing that there's less difficult jobs with higher wages in that same realm, it's incredibly difficult to keep people in that realm. So you're always using temporary help, and that adds more cost. You also see a bit of a generational gap within the public sector where a lot of senior management and people have been at the county for 30, 40 years, they'll be soon retiring, and then who's coming in behind them? We're in the midst of it now, and we feel that every single time we have senior management positions, it's a challenge. Burnout is a real factor, and I've talked to all my department heads, and almost all of them cited burnout as something that they're having to deal with. Whether that's increased caseloads at Health and Human Services with child welfare cases, which is a very real and dramatic thing that people are having to deal with. Public safety, you've got increased caseloads for drugs and all these other things that you still don't have as many people for. The dispatch centers, their calls are going up exponentially because people just pick up the phone and call with something. Maybe it's an emergency, maybe it's not. I think part of the challenge is how do you address that near-term reality, whether it's in the public sector or in the private sector with markets, and meet those needs at the same time that your ability to meet them is getting restricted. Our ability to generate revenue or keep up even with inflation is restricted. And after, say, 10 years of being behind on just inflation, not to say anything about increases in the cost of doing business elsewhere, you find yourself ill-equipped to meet people where they're at when they come in from the private sector or with years of experience or things like that. So that's a really confining aspect that drives a lot of the challenges that I see from department to department. If you don't have the right people in the right spot with the appropriate expertise who can maintain everything you need, a lot of this falls apart. I get these questions of economic development all the time, and I think there's an expectation that maybe the public sector is keeping up with the private sector. Like people see it's a generally good economy. People can find jobs, so the expectation is the government is doing well at the same time, but we're not.